This is what happens when you work with colored dip powder. Hey guys. So I kind of didn't have time to make an intro, so I decided to make this little Bitmoji intro instead. I actually got this idea from the Beauty Vault, so full kudos to her. But anyways, in today's video, I'm going to show you guys how to apply colored dip powder. But before we get into that, I just want to give a quick disclaimer. Applying dip powder can be hard to do, especially if it's a color, so just take your time, practice a lot, and don't get frustrated if you can't get it right on the first try. It's also best to practice with a sheer or nude color first. Everything that I've used in this video and that you'll need will be listed on the screen here, and I'll also list everything down in the description box below. So let's get started. So the first thing that you want to do is prep your nails. Now my nails are already prepped and my nail tip is already prepped. If you want to know how I prep my nails and how I apply and prep my nail tips, I will link those videos up in the card here, and they'll also be down in the description box below. After you are done prepping your nails, you want to go ahead and then apply your bond, but only to the natural nail. I do actually have a video on how to apply dip powder, so I recommend that you watch that first before moving on with this one. So I'm just going to very quickly apply this. And the reason you would want to apply a bond to your natural nail is because that'll help the product to adhere better. Prepping your nails, of course, does help with the adhesion, but the bond just makes sure that the product will actually stick and stay onto your nails. After you are done applying the bond to your natural nail, you want to go ahead and get your natural dip powder and base ready for application. You want to make sure that you roll, not shake or stir. You want to make sure that you roll your powders. You don't want to shake them because they're a very fine powder and they could possibly get clumped up from shaking them or stirring them. So you want to make sure that you roll your powders. Now that my base and my powder are ready, I'm going to go ahead and start applying it to the nail. Now I'm going to apply the base above where the nail tip ends. You don't want to apply it right on the nail tip because it'll bulk up that way. So I'm just going to get a little bit on my brush. And then I'm going to apply just a small amount in the middle here. And then I'm going to immediately dip it into my powder. I'm gonna wait a couple of seconds because as you can see, the base is still kind of wet. So I'm going to dip back into my powder. Tap off the excess and then dust the excess powder off of my nail. Now I'm going to go back into my base again and I'm going to apply it 3/4 of my nail. I also want to clarify that if you are wearing nail tips, you do want to do this step. If you don't have nail tips on and it's just on your natural nails, you can skip adding this line of base and just apply the base to 3/4 of your nail. So I'm going to get some of my base here. I do have to have a little more on my brush because this is a longer nail. And I'm only really applying this to the center of my nail. I'm not applying it to the side walls because I don't want it to bulk up on the sides. So now I'm going to immediately dip this into my powder, tap off the excess. I'm gonna see if I got any base on my skin here. I don't think so. And it looks pretty good, so I'm just going to dust the powder off of my nail. Now that my natural powder is on, I can go ahead and move on to my color. The color I'm using today is called Passion Potion. It's a very pretty sparkly color. And again, you want to make sure that you roll your powder. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my base again. And I'm going to apply it kind of a hairline away from my cuticle. And making sure that I don't touch my skin at all. And you want to make sure that this base is all on your nail, but make sure you don't get any base on your skin. And if you do, just make sure you wipe that off immediately. And then I'm going to dip this right into the powder. Tap off the excess. Remove any powder that got on the side of my nail. I'm just gonna dip this back in just in case. Tap off the excess and then dust the excess powder off. So now I'm going to go back in with my second coat of color, making sure to apply it on my entire nail. With colored dip powder, you want to take your time with applying the base, because if you get anything on your skin or in your cuticle area, it can be a hot mess. Trust me, I know from experience. So colored dip powder is a little bit harder to apply simply because you do have to be so careful with applying your base. But you just take your time, just practice a lot, and you'll eventually get good at it. So you also want to make sure that when you're applying your second layer here that you get every single last part of your nail, because you don't want any bald spots, especially if on your first coat there were bald spots. So I'm now going to immediately dip this into my color. Tap off the excess. I'm gonna see if I got anything on my skin here. Looks pretty good. And then I'm going to dust the excess powder off. Now, if you want, you can go in with a third coat. I might just go in with a third coat simply because, as you can see, it is very thin still. And because this is such a long nail, I don't want this to break. So with some colored dip powders, you do have to go in with like 3 or 4 coats, but it just really depends on how opaque the color is. So I went ahead and I applied a third coat of my color off camera, and now I'm going to apply a clear dip powder. The reason you want to apply a clear dip powder over your colored dip powder is because when you go into file the nails, when you go into, file and shape them and whatnot, you don't want to file through to the color, especially if it's a glitter. So make sure that you apply a clear dip powder over your colored dip powder so you don't interfere with the colored dip powder. Now, the method with applying a clear dip powder isn't the same when it comes to applying like the natural dip powder or the colored dip powder. You actually don't want to dip your finger into the clear dip powder. Instead, you want to pour it over the color. The reason is because you don't want to contaminate your clear dip powder with whatever colored dip powder you have on. So Kira Sky actually has this really cool recycling system, that's what she calls it, and it's basically these 2 little spoons that are in this little thing, and what you do is you pour the clear dip powder into your dish here, and then you pull it out, you pour it over the nail, and any excess powder that falls goes into the second spoon, and you just switch those back and forth as you are doing your nails. Now, if you don't have this, or you can't get it, you can just use a cuticle pusher that has a spoon likeness to it, and you can just dip that into the clear and pour over it just like that. So my clear is mixed up, and I'm just going to pour some of this into here. I'm gonna do a little more. And then I'm going to go ahead and apply my base to my entire nail. You want to make sure that you get the base all over the nail, especially like all over the color, because you want the entire color to be covered in the clear, because you don't want to file through to the color, or you don't want to file the color, I should say. So I'm going to make sure I apply an even amount of base onto the entire nail. I'm gonna remove any base I got on my skin. And then I'm going to stick my finger here, and I'm going to pour this over my nail and slightly rotate my finger as I'm pouring this. And then I'm going to tap off the excess. Take a look, make sure there's nothing on my skin. And then I'm going to lightly dust the powder off. And there you go. So now that my color and my clear and everything is all on, I'm going to go ahead and basically harden this with my Seal Protect. This is basically an activator, and it hardens the dip powder, so then when you go in to file it, you don't accidentally remove what it is that you just applied. So I'm going to go ahead and apply this to my entire nail. Some people like to go in with like several coats of the activator. It's not necessary to do. If you want to do that, you can go ahead and do that. But normally I just go in with one coat. Sometimes I do go in with 2 coats if I applied a lot of layers, but you really only need to go in with like 1 coat of the Seal Protect. So I'm going to let this sit for a couple minutes, wait until it hardens, and then I will be right back. So you know when your nails are set because when you go in and tap on it, it makes that loud clicking noise. So now you can go in and start filing and reshaping your nails. I always like to fix the shape of my nails first before I go in and actually file the surface of the nails. And remember, when you're filing your nails, wear a mask because this dust gets everywhere. And you don't want any of that in your lungs. So make sure you wear a mask when you are filing. Take a look, see how that looks. Fix the shape a little more. I'm usually very picky when it comes to filing and shaping my nails because I want them to look perfect. Okay, well, I'm going to finish fixing the shape of this and then I'll be right back. Okay, so now that my shape is the way that I like it, I'm gonna go ahead and just file the surface of this so it's nice and smooth. Also, I forgot to mention this, I am doing this on my dominant hand. So I'm currently using my non-dominant hand to do all of this on my dominant hand. So you just want to basically file the surface, and you don't want to go too crazy with filing the nail because you might accidentally file through to the clear and file down to your color. And I have done that before. So definitely don't go too crazy when it comes to filing the tops of the nails. So I'm gonna go ahead and just file this off camera, and I'll be right back for the almost last step. So now that my nails are filed and shaped, I'm gonna go ahead and remove any of the excess dust off of my nails by using a lint free wipe and some rubbing alcohol. And I'm just gonna clean that dust really well off of my nails, especially in my cuticle area. So the next thing that you want to do is go ahead and apply top coat. Now you can go ahead and apply the top coat that came in your kit, or you can use like a gel top coat, or you can even use just a regular nail polish top coat. So I'm going to use a gel top coat simply because I like my nails to be super shiny. If you hear all sorts of noises in the background, that is my dog. I apologize. I will say this is my favorite part of this whole thing, is applying the top coat, because the nail just comes to life. It's so pretty. After you are done applying your top coat and it's all dry, you can go ahead and apply cuticle oil. Cuticle oil is the most important part after any set because you don't want to leave those cuticles dry, especially with all the filing and whatnot that you do. And there you go. So that is how you apply colored dip powder on yourself. If you guys like this video, consider hitting that subscribe button and click that notification bell so you guys get notified as to new videos that I upload, if it even works. And if it doesn't work, you can go ahead and follow me on Instagram, where I not only update you guys as to new videos that I upload, but that's also where I share my work that you guys normally wouldn't see here in these videos. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!